The final day of this year's regular season may have just been the most eventful day of basketball I've ever seen. With both the East and West so tight in the standings, one game could be the difference between the 2 or the 5 seed, the 1 or the 3 seed, but most importantly between making the playoffs as number 6 or falling into the play-in. That's exactly what happened with the Lakers and Pelicans, who both had so much riding on one game. For New Orleans, a win firmly put them at number 6, avoiding the play-in altogether. For the Lakers, a win put them at number 8, meaning 2 chances at elimination, while a loss would send them all the way back to number 10. Stakes were as high as can be, and who better to have on your side in that situation than LeBron James? Since the All-Star break, LeBron's been averaging 27.5 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 9.5 assists on an absurd 67% true shooting. I'm not even going to mention the age. Those would be impressive numbers for any player in NBA history, and it isn't uncommon for him to ramp up like this heading into the postseason. For years, we heard about LeBron activating playoff mode, when he would turn his play up to another notch as the game started to become more important. The only problem is that in recent seasons, he simply hasn't had the health to do so. In 2021, he went into the playoffs hurt. 2022, they missed it. 2023, same thing with the nagging injuries, which means that right now we're seeing a fully healthy LeBron in April for the first time since they won the championship in Orlando, and that's terrifying. The way he looks athletically, the offensive talent around him, and of course the IQ, overall mastery to pick apart any defense, have made him the ultimate matchup nightmare. And that really stood out in a must-win against the Pelicans, where he diced them up in convincing fashion. The Lakers opened the game with a high pick and roll, and because Valanciunas is worried about a drive, it's an easy shovel pass to Davis, who takes it to the rim for 2. Next time down, instead of handling the action, Bron's going to play the role of the big, rejecting the initial pick and roll to set up a dribble handoff with Austin Reeves, which leads to a wide open lane and easy lay. Then the Lakers are able to force a turnover, giving them a numbers advantage in the open floor, and Bron cuts down the middle, draws 2, then makes a beautiful extra pass for more free points. He's at his best in transition like this. As a freight train, the defense has to collapse, and even the slightest miscue as a helper is being punished. That's 4 assists for the King in 4 possessions. Next time down the floor, it's a bit slower, so they go back to the high pick and roll, which means right back to the shovel pass. And I'll be the first to admit that this is a super questionable assist call, but he was credited, so we've got to roll with it. Maybe that makes up for this next one, where they once again go out in transition. Bron barrels down the lane for a quick extra pass to an open shooter, which would be assist number 6 had Reeves knocked it down. It's all good though, because the Lakers are able to force yet another turnover, continuing to push the pace, and Bron throws a pinpoint lob to Davis for easy points. Then in the half court, instead of on-ball action, LA tries something different, with Davis setting a back screen for Russell to cut, to which Bron of course threads the needle perfectly and creates another layup. Or he can even set up inside the arc by isolating with his back to the basket, where not only does the defense have to worry about his scoring, but his ability to find cutting teammates. It's a rare miss for Davis on the finish, but that's 9 potential assists for LeBron in a span of 4.5 minutes. Sometimes he'll even create shots for his team without picking up any numbers on the box score. Like here, he's about to come off a screen when he draws 2 and hits a slipping Rui to create a 4-on-3 that leads to a Davis layup. Keep in mind, we're not even halfway through the first quarter yet, and it wasn't until about 6 minutes in that the Lakers attempted their first shot without the creation of James, an isolation jumper for Davis. After a few empty possessions, it was clearly time to get the ball back in his hands, and what better than an open side pick and roll. Like clockwork, he draws 2 and throws it up for his big man to bring home. He had 8 assists in the quarter, and I know I said that one of them was questionable, but he also didn't receive one for this clearly intentional tip to Reeves that resulted in a layup, so I think the scorekeepers ended up getting it right. Although he did get credited for this one early in the second quarter, where instead of coming down with an offensive rebound, he bats it out to D'Lo, who's left with all the room in the world to knock down a 3. Speaking of which, Bron was still clearly feeling this playmaking juice in quarter number 2. About a minute in, he tried something crazy with a left-handed bullet in transition that didn't quite hit its mark. For the most part though, this is when he started to go into attack mode. The Pelicans have a miscommunication that leaves him with a lane to attack, so essentially the play is as good as done. Even at age 39, he's such an imposing physical force. With seemingly no lane to attack, he just bullies his way into a layup, and I'm not only talking about strength. This time it's the burst as he threatens a drive right before crossing to his left, which gives him the step on maybe the league's best perimeter defender. That same Herb Jones also doesn't have the physicality to really bump LeBron off his spots, so when he goes to a deep post seal with an open floor, it's an easy catch, up fake to draw contact, and a chance at 3 points. Whenever the game slowed down, the Lakers went back to the screening action that the Pels didn't have an answer for. On this one, it's a decoy pick and roll that Hayes slips to instead set a pin down, and that leaves Russell with some space to catch and shoot. And this time, LeBron actually starts away from the ball. His man loads up at the nail, meaning that he catches with a lane to attack before throwing a beautiful dime to Rui under the basket. His passing in this first half was nothing short of surgical. They go back to the high pick and roll, he draws 2, but now the Pelicans send Daniels early from the weak side to take away Davis, which results in another high-level pass to the cutting Rui. To avoid these numbers advantages, next time they set up the pick and roll, it's going to be defended with a switch, which now means that LeBron's going to attack one-on-one, putting it down on a drive and getting to the rim himself. When it was a smaller defender on him like Dyson Daniels, that's when he operated out of the post. It doesn't even look difficult, as he just big bodies his way to the basket for an easy 2. He finished the first half with 13 points and 13 assists while only turning the ball over once, and that's while missing out on some freebies, like this no-look pass in transition that lands on the money but ends up getting fumbled. This was an offensive masterclass in every sense of the word, and what makes it even more impressive is that he brought that energy to the defensive end as well. He had 4 steals in 2 quarters, a mix of jumping passes and stripping ball handlers, yet that's not even what I'm talking about. Rather, the focus for me is how well he played Zion one-on-one. We know Z wants to physically overwhelm his defender on his way to the rim, but LeBron's rare combination of agility and strength in many ways makes him a perfect matchup. I talked about this earlier in the year when these two faced off in the in-season tournament, and he looked like Zion's kryptonite, and that once again showed up last night as he very clearly took him out of his comfort zone. It didn't matter if it was out of the post, in isolation, with the help of a screen, he couldn't get to his spots, and as a result started this game shooting 1 of 6 from the field with 4 turnovers. Even when Zion started away from the ball, Bron just wouldn't let him get a runway. This time he sets a screen and Bron drops way back like he's a center in the 1970s, giving Z 2 options. He could either charge on a drive and try to out-athlete him, or settle for a rare outside jumper. Even when he wasn't matched up with Zion, his defensive activity felt very playoff-esque. This time he's in the weak side corner and fights for position to protect the dunker spot before recovering on a closeout to get a hand up on McCollum's 3. Or how about the last possession of the half where he jumps a pass for his 4th steal, and with a free runway to the basket, he somehow fails to convert. Nevertheless, the Lakers head into the break with a 17-point lead. Opening up quarter number 3, it was right back to dimes for the King. In transition, he starts wide, cuts laterally to receive a handoff, only to immediately throw a bullet into the hands of Davis. What really stands out to me about these plays is the way he's moving. This time he's going to be the screener in a pick and roll, and the agility with which he gets downhill for a vertical finish is remarkable. Of course, more times than not, he'll be the ball handler in these situations, and as soon as that big steps up to slow his drive, he's finding his big man for assist number 16. And the problem here is that if the big doesn't take away the drive, he'll turn the corner in attack mode. He gets all the way to the rim and earns a couple of free throws. They just spammed pick and roll at Valanciunas over and over again. Here's another one where he's met at the level, so he waits for Davis to roll before perfectly placing a lob, which leads to some more free throws. And when Valanciunas checked out, that's when he started to play in isolation. On this one, he tries a pull-up that comes short, only to follow his own miss for a red carpet to the basket. Next time down, it's going to be a post-up against Zion, and with a sharp combination of up fakes and footwork, he's able to step through for another foul call. Then when he got the switch onto a much smaller McCollum, I'm sure you already know how that goes, using his body to force contact and scoring through it for 2+ a foul. That essentially sealed the game, even though it had been over for a while now. Here and there, he did a little fourth quarter stat padding, but you can't fault the man because he more than delivered in a must-win game. He finished the night with 28 points, 11 rebounds, 17 assists, and 5 steals on 61.8% true shooting. If you ask me, that's a pretty great way to end your 21st regular season. These two teams face off once again on the first night of the play-in to decide who gets the 7th seed and ultimately a first-round matchup with Denver. And I'll be completely honest, as long as LeBron looks this healthy and is in this playoff form, I would not want to be one of the teams standing in his way. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.